So good morning. It is the last Sabbath in the month of October. A theme that we have been focusing on is the theme of headspace. And this morning, and our Bible text has been anxious for nothing. And it's quite amazing that when you focus on a text, that there are lots of things within that focus that can now begin to make you anxious. But one of the things that the Bible has told us is that Jesus says, "My peace I give you, not as the world giveth." And this morning we are blessed and privileged to have S'tha, who will be taking iIntercede this morning. She is our prayer warrior. She is used to interceding for many. And so it is with this pleasure that we introduce you to S'tha, who will take it forward. And I think that your title is "It's the Little Things That Matter." So over to you, S'tha.
Thank you so much, Anne Paulette. Happy Sabbath, everyone. I hope you had a good week. It's such a privilege to be sharing today, and specifically in a month that deals with headspace, with everything that's been happening. It's been a bit difficult to balance life, keep your head above the water, have relationships with people, still pray for others, and also just maintain your own life. The last few years, I was just checking as I was trying to balance out and prepare for today, that the last few years, okay, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yep, we can hear you.
They must on the sound got error and then remember.
Yes, we can hear you.
We can see.
Okay, so over the last few years, I was just checking to see how we coped, because it wasn't just towards the end of 2019 going into 2020 that we had the threats of the COVID and all that, but people had a rough time even before the COVID happened, and sometimes we try to balance out stuff by ourselves. But today, I would actually like to just encourage everyone. So I want to focus on the little things. Over the last year, for those who know, I went through a lot of loss, right? And I realized that, look, I may have lost loved ones, but there were people who actually lost their jobs, they lost their loved ones, they lost basically everything. And just to cope with that sometimes tends to be really difficult. And as I was reflecting this week, I remembered quite a number of people in the Bible that went through the most, and they just, I don't know how they made it work. It was one thing after the other. I remember studying the book of Job in 2019 and just asking God why I went through so much, without realizing that sometimes we go through so much and it's not about us. And there's steps that we can take, but I won't go into the steps. There's steps that we can take in order to mind our thoughts and mind our actions and all that. There are specialists who work on that all the time, but above all, there are people who need encouragement. So as we have come to the end of the Headspace season, I want to encourage everybody. There is a verse in the Bible. I used to think, God doesn't really care about the small things that are happening in my life. I wish I could actually just stop going through the pain or stop going through the specific issue, because I felt like okay, even if I'm going through it, he doesn't actually care, when in actual fact, God really cares. And he cares about the most minute things ever. You know, last year, I remember I was going through something and I wasn't even thinking of talking to anyone about it, because it felt like if I talk, other people are already going through their own stuff. You know, I put myself in other people's shoes and I was thinking to myself, why should I open up about this specific issue when in actual fact, there is more to life and there are more people who are going through worse situations than me. And then guess what? I knelt down and I was like, Lord, I don't want to talk about this to anybody. And someone from Metro reached out to me. So there are little things that God looks at that we think is not, he doesn't really care, but he actually does care about the smallest, most minute thing. You may think to yourself, I don't know if I'll have my job tomorrow. It might be small to you, it might be big to other people, but then God just makes a way. And let's say the retrenchment passes you by, or other people have lost their jobs and they've lost their houses and cars and all that. And God is just like, no, I've got your back. You know, I listened to one of my grandmother's favorite songs was Does Jesus Care? And it's only when we start to open up to God that we realize that he actually cares. He prevents certain things. He helps us get through certain things. And above all, one verse that has kept me going over the last 2 years is, before you were formed in your mother's womb, I knew you. So literally, God knew that, okay, S'tha will be born on this specific date, and these are the hardships she'll go through. These are the good things that she'll go through. And then above all, he purposefully took time to take care of those things even before I knew it. You know, even as we go through life, as we have these dark days of COVID, of losing people, of not having good relationships anymore because we can't see our, of losing our jobs, our cars, the things we're used to, the fellowship that we have, like, for example, the in-person fellowship that we had. When we think of all those things, let's look back and realize that, look, God said, don't be anxious. I care about you. I love you. You are, he treats us as if you are the only person who he created. He takes care of our burdens like he created us to just go through those things, you know? And so I would like us to go back to the woman who helped out a prophet in 1 Kings chapter 17 verse 17. You know, this woman did the most for this prophet of God. Like, she had no, in my opinion, she had no right to go through what she went through. But because God wanted to draw closer to her, she experienced a son who was sick for some time. And when he was sick, she just went up to the prophet and said, look, guys, you know what? The prophet's messenger, Gehazi, was like, ma'am, can I help you? And she was like, bro, it is well. Like, it is well. Until she got to the prophet, the kid was actually healed and he was 100% fine after the prophet intervened. But the attitude that she maintained, that things were okay, is what got her through the process. If we could wake up every morning and be grateful for the little things, for the life that God has given us, the bed to sleep on, the house we live in, if we could take a moment and just say, look, God, this is what I'm grateful for today. I am so sure that God would make time and say, look, my daughter, my son, I will pave the way and make things a little bit easier for you today. It's not easy, guys. We're going through a really tough time as a church, as a people. Like, there's no time for us to be holding on to the pain, even though it's not easy to release it. But if we had to take a moment and pray for someone who we know is going through pain, that would lift up the burden a little bit more. And above all, if we could just take a moment and thank God for the little things, the most minute things. If you could think of something God did for you this week, something where you didn't think He would actually come through for you, but it seems really small in your eyes, like, God, please do me a little solid. You will actually realize that there's a number of things that God has done for you, and above all, this as we end this session, and nothing compared to the glory that awaits us. The present sufferings may be heavy and painful and not easy to bear. And I reflect back to June and July, when my family lost a number of people in just a week. I think it was 6 or 7, if not more. And I realized that, look, actually, this pain is too heavy. And I found myself in a situation where I was in a really dark place. There were moments I would ask God, okay, so why exactly am I alive? Like, I pray, guys, I pray, I have a relationship with you. Why do I have to go through so much? And I realized, you know what? Actually, God does care. You may be experiencing the heaviness, the depression, the anger, the anxiety. Depression or anger, or anxiety, or mental health issues do not choose age, they don't choose race, they don't choose who they're going to attack, but they do attack us as a people. And the little thing that I can say to you today is, be encouraged in the Lord. The present suffering, the present pain that you're experiencing is nothing compared to the glory that is yet to follow. Also, lastly, remember that God created you. He knew you before you were even on this earth. And as we go into our breakout rooms, there's one thing that I would like us to discuss. I want us to all reflect on the little good things that God did for us this week. I don't want us to think of the pain that we experienced, whether the week was tough, whether the week was draining. I would like us to get our headspace cleared and think of the good things. Think of the good things that happened this week. Be mindful of the things that haven't been resolved this week, but you are grateful for. Think of the peace given us throughout. Above all, I would like us to just discuss the little things that we do in order to be watchful of the things that God has done for us. With that, I would like to thank you for joining us for this devotion. May God bless you abundantly. May your battles not draw you away from God, but closer to God. And if you have any prayer requests, please do share them with your room and we'll pray over them. But let's focus on the good. God bless you and keep you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Star.
S'tha, thank you so much. We really appreciate
the word.
The word that you shared.
And it actually sounded as though the little things actually become the big things when you focus on them. They can seem minute until you start to count your blessings, and that's where you do see God's fingerprints.
Yeah.
So thank you for the word.
And the fact that we're aware of the fact that you've been through so much. Pardon me. You've been through so much in a short period of time, with the way in which the pandemic has literally, for many people, obliterated the lives of many family members. And in spite of that, you have risen above that to be able to talk about in spite of that, let's look at the little things that God is doing, because there lies the evidence of God's presence and his closeness to us, especially in moments of distress that we often experience. So thank you so much for that, Star. We just appreciate you coming on in order to share that. And I'm sure it speaks to so many others who too have had to figure out, how do I see God in the midst of my pain? And it speaks almost to that small voice when Elijah was himself running, and God was not in the thunderstorms and the earthquakes, but he was in a still small voice. And it's about our ability to be still and quiet enough to hear that he is present. So thank you so much, Star. Just for those of us who are obviously on the various platforms of YouTube and Facebook, you are more than able to come into this space and spend time with us. And if you want to do that, well, the opportunity is available to you to do so. And right now, here is the actual Zoom details and the passcode that will give you the opportunity to step into our platform, taking some time to reflect on how God has led us through the difficult periods of life and how we've been able to see the little things that just give us hope and confidence that he is present with us. Also, I'd like to announce that this afternoon, we're going to have a really powerful testimony following the theme of Be Anxious for Nothing. And we're looking at Gianna Snell, who's going to be really sharing how, she had 4 miscarriages. And in the midst of that pain, she could hear the word of God saying, wait. And how easy is it to wait when one is undergoing such difficulties and pain? So please do connect in at 4:00 this afternoon, because I do believe it will be a powerful testimony, but I believe also it will make a difference in the lives of so many people who are experiencing certain types of trials and also tribulations. Well, from us at Metro Mission, we wish you God's speed, God's blessing for this Sabbath. And for those of us who are remaining on, we'll be breaking up into groups in just a moment.